Hello, everyone. This is Nicole, and I wanted to continue the conversation about being vulnerable with the man, learning how to open up to him. So, this website is called Sexy Confidence. I just searched for how to be vulnerable as a woman. So, of course, you're going to get information about women being vulnerable in relationships, right? So, I mentioned in the last video about vulnerability versus insecurity that vulnerability, in my opinion, is an asset. And other groups of women have learned this, but due to the way our Black society has been artificially constructed and maintained, you see that vulnerability is not a strong point of Black women. And it's often seen as a liability and not a strong asset for women, for Black women. And not only a liability, but in my opinion, a liability represents a limitation that you have. It limits you from observing what you're doing, taking an account of what you think, what you do, and how you affect others. So they start off by saying you search and search for Mr. Right. Then you finally find him and you struggle with a new challenge: how to be vulnerable with a man. Whether you haven't been in a serious relationship before or you've been terribly hurt by one or in one, vulnerability does not come easy for most women or men, but it's also a key component of a loving and healthy relationship. So here the author wants to give tips on how to open up and let this man into your heart fully. The real title of the article is Why You Should Learn How to Be Vulnerable with a Man. So when you look at Scarlett O'Hara, this was the main character, if you remember, in the movie Gone with the Wind, set in the antebellum slavery time in the United States, in the South. I believe it was in Georgia. And it was a big part of the Gone with the Wind series was during the Civil War. She went from husband to husband during the Civil War and focused on her own financial security. I think that, in my opinion, Scarlett O'Hara was one of the main characters in movies that just clearly showed hypergamy. She searched for her own financial security, and not only financial security, but just comfort. She was looking for comfort from a lot of the men that she ran into. She never really loved any of the men that she married until she met Rhett Butler. So something about Rhett Butler really shifted her behavior and shifted how she responded to her environment. So after some trials and tribulations, Scarlett O'Hara realized that her marriage to him wasn't just one of convenience, which is what she was used to in the past. She actually loved this man. And so it was a little too late, but she finally opened up to him. And after she opened up to him and was like, "Oh, Rhett Butler, oh, Rhett, I love you, Brett," Rhett, all this stuff. She going on the staircase and falling at his feet and all this stuff. He responded by saying, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." Like, that's like the one of the best lines in that movie. I'm sorry to say, but it is one of the best lines. He was just like, "Frankly, my dear," like basically, bitch, I don't give a damn. Like, that's basically what he said. If you had to translate it into today, that's what he said. Bitch, kick rock, whatever. Or according to Grinch, the Grinch guy, he said, "Strag, get your ass out of here," basically. So, getting back to the article, Scarlett built this fortress around her heart. She was extremely hypergamous. And it wasn't until she removed that fortress around her heart that she actually learned how to be vulnerable with a man. But it happened too late in her life. So the main idea and the take-home message of this video and this article is not just don't be like Scarlett O'Hara. Don't be a dumbass, okay? So being vulnerable with someone that you love and who loves you back creates a deeper level of intimacy between the two of you. You're essentially putting your heart on a platter and saying, "Here, I trust you with my heart. Just don't break my heart. Please don't break my heart." So when you and your man, or you and your woman, depending on who's reading this, you allow yourselves to be vulnerable with one another, you build a deeper bond of trust. You're saying to each other, I'm showing you my underbelly, and I hope that you do the same for me. You know, you're confident enough to show someone, or talk to someone about your inner darker ideas and conclusions about things, and wait for their response to you and see if you can learn something from them. In my opinion, that's what being vulnerable is about. I want to learn something from what the person says to me as a response to what I've given them. So scientific research, you thought you were going to get away, huh? Nope, not today. Scientific research has proven that mutual openness between partners plays a role in creating and sustaining a healthy relationship. That's what you're aiming for, isn't it? That should be what you're aiming for. You're aiming for mutual conversation, mutual interest, and growing together. Now, this is a video and article that's for people who want relationships. If you're a MGTOW, or you're a person who, not just MGTOW, but if you're a female even, who's not interested in relationships, then there's other ways for you to be vulnerable outside of that realm. Of course, you want to be vulnerable in other instances, like with your relationships with your family, your girlfriends, relationships on your job, and so forth. But if you are interested in a relationship, then this may be more applicable to you. So you want to be emotionally naked because it's incredibly sexy to men. According to men that I've spoken with in my day-to-day life, they say yes, a woman who's vulnerable, who can laugh at herself, who doesn't take herself too seriously, that's very attractive to them. And these are men of different strata, financial strata, different educational background strata. So it doesn't matter, like, in my opinion, like, it doesn't matter how wealthy or how, whatever background he's from, whatever geographical location he's from, they all say pretty much the same thing. So when you're able to open up to someone you trust, he knows he's doing all the right things to make you happy and will continue to work for your love. Because you have to remember, a man and a woman is a hunter-gatherer situation. That relationship is hunter-gatherer. But that's how most people look at it anthropologically. Hunter is the man, gatherer is the woman. But if you look at it at a base level, at a biological primal level, a man is a hunter and a woman is the prey. So a man is always is expected to chase a woman. Okay, that's how it works. Hunter, prey versus hunter, gatherer. Pretty much the same thing, because if a man as a hunter leaves the tribe, you have all women. If the men leave, you have all women and children there. You have a bunch of gatherers and children. Gatherers don't defend themselves, and they're not able to adapt well to their environment. Physically adapt to their environment, meaning to defend themselves and defend their children. So you still have a hunter-prey mentality and society when you break that down. So they also go into what being vulnerable means. They say here, being vulnerable isn't being weak or submissive. I tend to disagree with that, because when you're vulnerable as a female, you're being submissive. You're, like I said in the previous video, you're open to interpretation. And as a woman speaking with a man in a relationship, if you are open to interpretation, you are submitting to what he has to say. And you have to, of course, they're saying don't let him walk all over you. That's common sense. And you don't have to agree with everything he says, but you're open to listening to what he has to say. They say here, of course, vulnerability isn't about letting a man control the relationship or even needing a man in your world. You have to recognize as a vulnerable woman that he is significant in your life. That's what I think is important. Then you have a research professor, Brene Brown, that says vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. And truth and courage are never outdated. they're never things that people would turn their noses up at. So they have a video here. This guy is talking about relationships, five relationship lessons you can learn. I'm going to skip down some. So here is some of the nuts and bolts of this, because a lot of people are like, okay, get to the good part. The good part is when they talk about women who have been divorced. Those who have been lied to or cheated on or abused find it hard to expose themselves to pain again. And I can personally attest to that, because someone who has been lied, cheated on, and abused, I've never been married, so I've never been divorced, but dealing with abuse, dealing with being lied on and cheated on is something that makes it difficult for you to be vulnerable and expose yourself to a new person. Not only have you become comfortable somewhat and familiar with the abuse and the just reckless behavior from the other person that's previous in your life, but you now have to go and meet a new person and try to figure out what's going on. It's hard. It's very hard. But according to this article and things that I've learned outside in the world, this is a completely natural response to have. It's the first order of nature, which is self-preservation. You want to preserve yourself. But sometimes women, we have a tendency of pushing self-preservation to the extreme and closing everybody off. And that's where your attractive level, or as Kendra D says, your sexual marketplace value plummets, because you're not able to get out of your own mind and get out of your box. So if you're putting that Scarlett O'Hara fortress around your heart, thinking it will keep you from ever being hurt again, you are extremely wrong. You're very, very wrong. I would say one way, just from personal experience, because I'm not going to go through the whole article, but from personal experience, when I was having trouble becoming more vulnerable with a new relationship, I began to do things that I like to do again. I began to relearn myself and regain my identity, because when you're in a relationship or in a family situation and you have a divorce or you break up, that family or that relationship becomes your identity. It becomes who you are, and it becomes your world. So you have to relearn how to be alone, and the longer that takes, the longer it takes for you to get over that separation, the longer and harder it is for you to get in a new relationship. So for me, it took about 6 months to a year to just be by myself. I did a little dating here and there, but I had no sex. There was no sex involved. I was trying to relearn, what type of guy I liked, because obviously the previous relationship, that type of guy was not the guy for me. So I kept moving on. I kept doing what I had to do, kept living my life, learning new things, working on my physical appearance, working on enhancing myself, not like enhancing myself like that, like plastic surgery. Enhancing myself as far as increasing my worldview, improving upon my knowledge of different things, picking up a couple hobbies. When I spoke with Gab Talk Media on his channel and he interviewed me, I was saying, a lot of women just need something to damn do. And that's true. A lot of us need something to damn do. Shout out to Soul Alchemy, because she has a lot of good information on her channel where those are things that ladies could damn do. I see on her channel talks about things that women could do, gardening, self-improvement, enhancing how you view things, and just trying to be more, understanding of other people's backgrounds, understanding of how people grew up, how people deal with situations, deal with different challenges, all that goes into it. So the main thing they have here on this paragraph, the next paragraph, is making sure you're 100% healed from the past pain before you can open up your heart to someone new. Don't try to rush the relationship. You're not being fair to this new guy or yourself. You're basically wasting your damn time, which I found out within the first couple of months after the breakup, I was trying to rush into, let me just get over this guy, whatever. It didn't work because I was not ready. I was judging the guy, and I was slipping into more self-confidence, or excuse me, insecurities. I wasn't as self-confident as I should have been, and I was becoming very self-conscious, but less likely to carry a conversation well, because I didn't know what to say. I wasn't familiar with this person. I didn't know their quirks and attitudes about things. So I had to just lay back and figure out what it is I wanted and what I needed from someone, and that helped me a lot. So if a new relationship has any hope of success, you must completely let go of your past heartache and be open to a fresh start. You can't have a wall around your heart. So number one, share your feelings. That goes without saying. Sharing your feelings in a constructive way that doesn't just, get on his nerves. Talk about your past pains that make vulnerability hard. That's something I would probably discuss with a therapist first, and then with the guy that you're dating seriously. Pay attention to his behavior, the things that he does, the way that he communicates. That's very important because that will help guide you on what you should say, how you can respond. Always be honest about whatever it is you're feeling or you're thinking. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. And these are for people, once again, that are in relationships. Know your attachment style. This is important because if you're coming out of a relationship that was very weird with the attachment, then you may have issues going down the road. Ask for help. That goes back to therapy and having therapeutic outlets in your life. Therapeutic outlets don't have to just be therapy. Therapeutic outlets can be your hobbies. They could be your friends. They could be other ways of communicating, right? Number 8 is list reasons you're afraid of being vulnerable. And they have different examples there. Get a reality check from your friends. And I mean a real reality check, because sometimes, ladies, our friends, they will lie to us and they tell us bullshit that means nothing because they are dealing with issues on their own. And some of the women in our lives, sad to say, older in our age and younger, especially the older women in our lives, do not want to see us succeed. They don't want to see us succeed. You'd be surprised, the older women in your life that don't care if you succeed or not. So please get some real friends that will be honest with you and tell you when you're messing up. That's what I would say. And also help you to grow. Do a vulnerability check ever so often, a check-in with yourself to be honest with yourself. So that's all I have this time on this video. The next video is going to be about those women that I just spoke of who are not there in your best interests. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Leave some comments in the comment section. I like to see this conversation continue, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. But that's all for me. I'll talk to you in the next video. Have a great day.